I'm assuming you guys have all heard the news. Steelers cornerback Cam Sutton has been officially suspended by the NFL for 8 games of the 2024 regular season. So he'll come back week 9, which is the Steelers' bye week, which means his first game that he could be playing in is week 10 versus the Washington Commanders. The official statement from the NFL reads, Cameron Sutton of the Pittsburgh Steelers is suspended without pay for the first 8 games of 2024 regular season for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. It was announced today, which was yesterday. You could see the date here, July 8th. The NFL investigated the March incident involving Sutton and determined he violated the personal conduct policy. Sutton will be eligible for reinstatement on October 29th following the Steelers' Week 8 game against the New York Giants. Further information dropped after this NFL statement. I think it was within an hour or two that Cam Sutton will not be seeking an appeal on this suspension. So this is it. He's going to be out for half the season. He can partake in preseason games and in training camp and all this offseason stuff and in practice. But once the regular season hits, from my knowledge, he won't be able to practice with the team until 2 weeks before the suspension is lifted. So I don't know if that's going to mean week 6 or week 7, but that's when Cam Sutton will be able to rejoin the team and practice with his teammates. Going back to the Steelers signing him, we picked him up on a 1-year vet minimum contract after he was released by the Lions due to the March incident that the NFL highlighted in their statement. I'm surprised at the 8-game suspension, but maybe I shouldn't be. I thought with how Sutton's case was going from a legal standpoint that he may only get like 2 or 4 games or possibly even none, because initially Sutton was charged with a felony, but then it was dropped to a misdemeanor. And then more information came out that if he completes a program, that the charges will be dropped altogether. So I didn't know how the NFL was going to handle that information. Like if the charges are completely dropped, he completes this program, like what type of suspension is the NFL going to hand down? Because the way people were talking a month ago, it didn't seem like it was going to be half the season. People that were more in the know on how the NFL handles this stuff, or even just more in the know about the Steelers, it didn't seem they were talking about an 8-game suspension. But based off the research I was doing yesterday, 6 games may have been at least the bare minimum for the suspension from the start of all this, because like the precedent has been set, like that 6 games is the bare minimum for cases like this. At least, again, according to the stuff that I was reading yesterday, there was a player last year, it was a similar situation like Cam Sutton here, and he got 6 games. So maybe 6 games was always going to be the suspension from the start, but I didn't really know about that. I had no clue about that. Now, Tomlin did say he and the Steelers did do their due diligence on the situation and felt comfortable signing Sutton based off the information that they had. It makes me wonder then how much of this signing, like if the Steelers knew this was going to be 6 games, potentially even more, potentially 8 games, I wonder if this signing was about Cam Sutton on the field, how much this signing was about Cam Sutton on the field versus helping Cam Sutton as a man off the field. It's probably a mix of both, because Cam Sutton here, being here, even missing 8 games, will still help the defense, being the veteran that he is and being familiar with the Steelers defense and everything. Like, he still helps the defense. He still helps the secondary. Like, he can still play for half of the season. And that half of the season, the second half of the season, is the one that everyone is most worried about and thinks it's the toughest part of the Steelers' schedule. But I also do think getting Cam Sutton back on the Steelers clearly helps Cam Sutton as well, like the man. Like, get him around his Steeler brethren and try to just help him rehab as a person and get him around good people and everything, and get him around positive surroundings. And I think that's what the Steelers offer. The NFL clearly, like with this suspension, has been lowering their tolerance for these like domestic violence type of cases. And it makes sense compared to where they were, let's just say 10 years ago. Because you had the NFL suspending dudes like Josh Gordon and Martavis Bryant for a full season for smoking some weed, but then you had a dude that would beat up his girlfriend and he'd only get like 3 or 4 games. Like, it didn't make sense at all. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing that the NFL is going in this direction and is having less tolerance for situations like this. So it's sending a message, because even with Sutton's charges potentially getting dropped, he still had his name in the news for a good month and a half, maybe even 2 months, which meant the NFL media, sports talk shows, all that was discussing an NFL player being associated with domestic violence and also being on the run from the law, which is something the NFL wants no part of. It's not good for the Shield, not good for the brand. The NFL doesn't want anything to do with that. And even though we weren't there, we don't know what happened in March with Cam Sutton in this incident and everything. All signs are pointing to something janky happening. And with the NFL doing their own research on it, they found that 8 games was the proper number. And that's where we're at right now. And that's that. Cam Sutton will be missing half of the 2024 regular season. So where does that leave the Steelers and their defense, in particular their secondary, the cornerback position? Because when we signed Cam Sutton, we thought our slot corner position is taken care of. We got our 2 outside guys. We got JPJ. We got Dante Jackson. We got young guys in Corey Trice, Darius Rush that could have some upside, but we're still going to be waiting on them. It's going to be a little bit more wait and see. We're missing like a slot corner. We picked up Beanie Bishop as an undrafted rookie free agent. Picked up a couple dudes that I really don't know much about, like a Graylin Arnold or Josiah Scott. I think, has Josiah Scott been in the Steelers system for a little bit? Either way, like, are you feeling good about any of those last 3 names that I mentioned playing the Steelers starting slot corner spot? No. So when we picked up Cam Sutton, it's like, okay, cool. Like that, yeah, he's going to be our slot corner. Hope maybe compete on the outside. We know he's versatile, could play some safety. He could do a lot of things, but like mainly he should be our slot corner. Like that position is taken care of now. He's going to be out for the first half of this season. Where do we look to? Do we go back to the unknown players that I just mentioned? Do we bump an outside guy to the inside? Like maybe Corey Trice shows some stuff in training camp and in preseason. We were able to bump Dante Jackson to the inside at times. Do we rely on some 3 safety sets? It's probably a combo of everything I'm spewing out right now, but how comfortable does that make you? I'm good with it for right now, but if things aren't looking good in training camp, I wouldn't be hesitant to make a sign to pick up a player in free agency. Like there's names out there. There's familiar names out there, like a Patrick Peterson. I don't know how great I feel about him being our slot corner, but you got like a Kella Witherspoon. You got a Steven Nelson who said he retired, but would be open to returning if the opportunity is right. You still got a Dory Jackson. You got Stephon Gilmore. You got names. Did I mention Kella Witherspoon? Yeah, you could pick up Kella Witherspoon. Like he's an outside guy, but it's just still in terms of bringing in quality corners. There's names. I mean, there's a lot of names. It's different than the wide receiver 2 spot and what available free agents there are at receiver position right now. There's a lot of cornerback names. Receiver, it's really just Michael Thomas. Like if we're going to upgrade the position or we're going to look to get a wide receiver 2 in here, it might have to be through trade if we want a guy with a name. But corner, bro, we could chill. It doesn't seem like the market's moving that much. Players are getting signed that much. Like it's pretty much been the same way for the last like 2 months here. All those dudes have been sitting in free agency just chilling. So I don't think we have to be in a rush. I could see us wanting to check out what Corey Trice got or Darius Rush got early in training camp. But if things aren't going well, I could see the Steelers going with the Quan Alexander approach last year, where like we talked throughout the whole offseason. Even though we made some nice pickups at linebacker with Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts, we were missing that like athletic linebacker piece. Can we get an Isaiah Simmons? Can we get a guy that's a little bit more rangy? And we took it all the way to training camp without signing a dude like that, but then saw firsthand Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts and said, yeah, we definitely need to make that pickup. And we did by getting Quan Alexander. So I think the Steelers could do a similar thing here. And I think they're going to do the same thing over at receiver. Let's see what Van Jefferson got. Let's see what Calvin Austin got. Let's see what Quez Watkins got. Roman Wilson. Let's see how they mesh together in the early parts of training camp here, maybe even preseason, and then make a decision whether or not to sign a Michael Thomas or trade for a Cortland Sutton or trade for a Brandon Ayuk. So I don't think the Steelers are going to change their approach here with Cam Sutton getting these 8 games. Because they probably figured he was going to get some sort of suspension. And, yeah, I don't think this is going to change too much. Like, they're just going to go into training camp here. Or at least right now. I think they're just going to go into training camp with what they have, see if any of these young pieces in Trice or Rush can make a splash. Maybe work with some 3 safety sets. Just makeshift the position, really. Maybe on rundowns you use Deshaun Elliott or Casey up at that nickel spot. Passing downs, maybe it is Beanie Bishop. Maybe it is a Josiah Scott. Maybe you bump Dante Jackson to the inside. You have Corey Trice outside it. Darius Rush. Like there's ways you could go about it. Again, I don't know how comfortable it makes you feel, but I could see why the Steelers wouldn't be in a rush to make a move right now. I don't think they have to be because the cornerback market, there's still a lot of names out there. But that's it for today's show. Let me know your thoughts on the Cam Sutton suspension. Were you surprised that it was 8 games? And do you think the Steelers should make a move right now? Because that's the other thing I didn't even mention in all that I was just talking about. Like the cornerback names that are out there really are a bunch of outside guys. I guess we could spin the block on a Chandon Sullivan. I thought he was decent for us last year. He's more of a slot guy. So he's still out there. Like, yeah, there's a lot of names out there. I don't think we got to stress about it right now, but we'll see how training game and preseason goes with the cornerbacks. But stay chilling. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.